Hello everybody. I'm going to do a run-by video here of my 1947 Ringling Brothers and Barnum Bailey combined circus show train. This is I've been working on updating some of the cars on this train and building some new stuff, so thought I'd give it a run around the layout. So I started building this train about 30 years ago or so, probably now. And I started it was originally just like a 7-car train, and it's grown into this monster. It's 36 cars, I believe, right now. It's got 5 horse stock cars, a scratch-built elephant car, 21 flats, and 9 passenger cars. A combination of Pullmans, a private car on the end, and then a diner in the middle. So, the horse stock cars were old J&J kits. They're injection molded plastic, so they needed quite a bit of work to get them to look okay, and there's some issues with them, but it's pretty good representation. As I said, the elephant car I scratch built out of wood, and there's a couple styrene parts on it, but it's mostly basswood. Most of the flats are old laser cut kits. There's a combination of Warren flat cars and Mount Vernon flat cars. The Warrens are kind of more uniform on the top and the bottom. The Mount Vernon flat cars kind of have a hump in the bottom of them, and then the flat cars that look a little thinner, those are the Microtrains release of the Warren flat cars that were done probably 5 years ago now. You can still pick them up once in a while on everybody's favorite auction site. The wagons and the trucks, there's quite a few variations of stuff on the train. There's some resin kits on here. There's some scratch built wagons out of wood. There's injection molded models. There's 3D printed models on here, and the variation actually looks pretty realistic because nothing was bought at the same time when they bought all this. Back in '47, Ringling traveled on 4 sections, so this section of the train is probably a little larger than it should be, but it's still, I'm not going to break it into 2 sections for my layout. It's just going to run like this. So as I said, I've been updating this train over the last couple months or so. Originally, the passenger cars, these were these old Lima cars that were pretty crude. They worked, but it's custom decals back at the time. But I've upgraded to all the passenger cars on the train right now are Microtrains cars. There's 10-1-2 sleepers. There's 12-1 sleepers. There's a 3-2 private car and a diner on the train. A total of 9 cars. The Microtrains cars are just fabulous to work on because they come apart so easily, and you can they're easy to mask, and because they come apart in so many pieces. So so these are those J&J stock cars. They're probably 30 years old. You can see a combination of different lettering on them. The Times New Roman font looking stuff is the older font. The font that looks more realistic, that's more modern decals from Circus City decals. The train has all the cars have Microtrains trucks and couplers on them. The flats and the stocks have 33-inch metal low profile Fox Valley, now scale trains, wheel sets, and the passenger cars all have 36-inch metal low profile wheels, also from Fox Valley or scale trains. The train's being pulled by an ABBA set of micro trains, FTs, that are weathered, and the caboose is a Fox Valley Models caboose. So over the years, I spent quite a bit of time on this train, making sure it runs well, and it's run on N-track layouts. It runs periodically on our Modutrack layout, and without any issues of derailing most of the time. Of course, there's always going to be some issues, but overall, it runs very reliably. And then right now, this video is being shot on my home layout, which is set in 1953 in the LaCrosse division of the Milwaukee Road from Portage to LaCrosse. But like I said, the trains, a loose representation of the Ringling, one of the sections of the Ringling train in 1947. The reason I picked that date, it's the first year they had the silver flats with the red coach sleepers. And then right after this, they bought a bunch of war surplus hospital cars that they also put on the train. So these are, right before they bought those cars, this is what they were using, standard heavyweights. As I said, it's a loose representation of the train. There's quite a few prototypical wagons and trucks on this, but they weren't necessarily in this order or loaded this way. And like I said, the train's too long for one of the sections, but modeler's license, it is what it is. And like I said, I replaced some of the wagons that were originally on there that were really unprototypical over the last couple months. So it looks a little better now than it did. Most people that look at it at a train show aren't going to know the difference as to what is prototypical and what isn't, but it makes me feel better when I know it's right. And for those of you that aren't familiar with circus trains, especially this era, if you're wondering why there's a caboose on the end of the train, it's because the railroads contracted these to be moved as freight trains. Even though there were passenger cars on it, it was still considered a freight train extra. And the length of the cars, the reason they were all 70-some foot cars is because back then the railroads charged per car, not how long the car was. So the circuses got the biggest bang for their buck that they could and got as much equipment on the longest cars that they could at the time, which were these 70-some foot flats and stock cars. So if you wonder why the flat cars are longer than a normal freight flat car. So as I said a little bit before, the decals is a combination of old Walthers decals and Circus City decals. The paints are pretty much just flat red, and dull aluminum is the silver color. The green is Tamiya British green. Black is flat black. But I tried to make it a little easier rather than airbrushing most of this stuff. It's mostly rattle can paint, just to make it easier. And I think we'll call that an evening here, pulling into the staging yard here. We'll stop right behind the 42 Hiawatha and this extra of Alice Chalmers equipment. But like I said, I just wanted to give everybody a quick rundown of what I've been working on for the last couple months here on in between train shows. So hope you enjoyed it, and we'll catch you next time with the next train that I'm working on. Thanks.